We entered the room, and the cartridge of small-bore rifle Gecko was found on one of the cardboards. The investigation officer gave the instruction to policemen to search the distant rooms. Then I asked the policeman why those rooms. This room was much closer. Let's come into it. But the policeman answered that this is necessary, and we went to the distant rooms. The police searched the rooms, attic, garage, where nothing illegal was found. In the end, they have come into the bedroom, which they bypassed in the beginning of the search. Before we entered the bedroom, there were already 3 or 4 policemen at the door. After that, we entered the bedroom. In the beginning, they searched the cupboard, but they found nothing there. They raised the mattress, where there was an automatic gun and 2 hand grenades. As soon as Mr. Vladimir learned that a weapon was found in the bedroom, his reaction was the following. The first thing he said was, "How did it get in my house, in my family?" The second search eyewitness, Jambol Chukovani, told to us that he, as well as Makatsaria, were brought in approximately an hour and a half after the arrival of the policeman to the house. But he was not present during the search, as he felt bad, and first aid team was called in for him. My wife measured my blood pressure, and it was very high, above 200. Then policeman said that an ambulance needed to be called, and then I sat downstairs where there was a marble table. The doctor said that I should be transported home, that I could not remain there. They gave me a shot, and policeman told the doctor, "Do your business. It should not concern you whether he goes home or stays here." They sent him away and told me, "Sit here, and if you don't want that, we will take you upstairs." After that, I felt worse, and I left without telling anybody. I went straight home and did not sign any reports that night. According to the legislation, the search witness should put the signatures under the search report right after its end. However, Makatsaria's wife says the policeman came to her husband with the requirement to sign the report the next day only.
The next day, approximately at 10:30, some unknown people came to me and explained that they were police officers and wished to talk to my spouse. Kankia told my husband that he brought things which were withdrawn from Vakhania's house, and that whether he wants them or not, Mindia should put his signature on it. All this happened in the back room, and it is possible to use stairs to come there. I sat on the stairs so that they did not see me.
Leah Makaskari described to us how her husband was threatened if he didn't sign the documents.
They told my husband, "If you don't sign these documents now, then what you saw in Vakhania's house will happen in your house too." Then some person came and said, "May we step outside for a minute? I would like to talk to you." When I followed him, he told me, "You know, I know perfectly well what school your child studies at. You will be fired from your job, you will have to leave the city, remember this, and it will be better if you bring your husband to reason and force him to sign the documents. Otherwise, he will end up in prison."
I agreed to sign the report provided that it is fixed. That I came as eyewitness an hour and a half after the arrival of the policeman. They gave their consent for it. I did not write anything myself, they wrote it with my dictation. Then the process of getting testimony came to an end. I saw with my own eyes that the words that I and Chukovani came to Vakhania's house 1.5 hours later were actually there. But later, when the lawyer showed me the copies of the testimony, the page where it was written about my arrival to Vakhania's house was taken away from the report. The report with my testimony has 2 signatures, but I doubt that they belong to me. Probably, they withdrew those pages where the hour and a half were mentioned, because the investigation officer Shingelia let me read the words "an hour and a half later" were actually there. I do not know where this phrase disappeared later. Makatsaria's story was provided by expert evidence, according to which the signatures on the reports are not the signatures of the real witnesses. Neither during preliminary investigation nor during the process, the law enforcement officers did not present any evidence that could prove the opposite of the expert's evidence. Before the beginning of the legislation, on the 12th of August, witness Chukovani and Makatsaria appeared in the office of the public defender, ombudsman, and claimed that the office of the public prosecutor put pressure upon them. According to the explanations, the employees of the Office of Public Prosecutor warned them that they should not testify against the Office of Public Prosecutor in court.
The testimony given by the witnesses present during the search can be rendered as essential influence on determining the legality of the search. This is the reason why the witnesses became the object of the prosecution from the Office of the Public Prosecutor.
During the court, Jambul Chukovany did not pay attention to the threats of the Office of the Public Prosecutor and declared that during the search he felt bad, and for the reason he was forced to sign part of the report only the next day. And the signatures on the other part of the report do not belong to him, which was proved by the expert's evidence. Despite this, he was arrested on the charge of deliberately giving mutually exclusive evidence.
In spite of the fact that Judge David Kikanadze did not satisfy any petition of the defense, even the interrogation of the prosecution witnesses of charge showed that case against Vakhania was obviously forged and that there was no crime in this action in general. This is why the court got into an embarrassing situation. It had to execute the will of the public prosecutor office and bring in a guilty verdict in any case. This is why the court was not interested in listening to the substantiated and documented words of the defense, and the judge removed us, lawyers, from the hall of the court for no reason at all. Moreover, the judge removed the defendant himself from the hall of the court and deprived him of his most important and fundamental right to give his final speech. In conditions of justice and unlawfulness, the judge chose the way of unlawfulness, which once again confirmed that he was a prejudiced subjective weapon in judges' robes in the hands of authorities.
On the day when the court entered, Vladimir Vakhania distributed the following declaration. On the 11th of September 2009, detention facility officers entered my cell and said that I should be transferred to the district court. According to Vakhania's declaration, he felt bad at that time, and the employees of the administration by threats forced him to the medical ward where two medications were injected intravenously. After that, I was led to court session, where the judge David Kikanadze